Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. Join the only official Telegram channel of RAU'S Study Circle to get relevant material and important updates. Important announcement. First batch of QIP or Quality Improvement Program has already begun on 12th of this month. QIP classes would cover up more relevant and sought after topics for the upcoming prelims examination. This program would cover history, polity, geography and environment, science and technology, economy and international relations in 50 hours. Next batch of QIP would start on 3rd of May 2021. Hello everyone and welcome to the detailed session on the explained section of the Indian Express. In this initiative, we put up all those articles which have not been covered under the DNS initiative. However, they are equally relevant for the UPSC preparation. The articles which are put up for today's discussion are listed on your screen and their time stamping for the same is provided in the description box. So, the first article in our line of discussion is related to the international security concern. Under this article, we will read about a Facebook hack or a hack of the Facebook database in which the accounts of millions of people were leaked in a public domain. Well, the context of the article is simple. A news came earlier this year, that is few weeks back, that personal information of over 533 million people got leaked, and these people were belonging to 106 countries. Well, this data was leaked online in the public domain, and the most important concern associated with this is that phone numbers of the users were sold online. It simply means that people who have attached their phone numbers with their Facebook account were released online. How this has happened? Well, we will discuss more in the article. Why this is a concern now? Well, personal data which was leaked include names, Facebook IDs, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, and in fact, the personal biodata which includes your photographs, your timeline habits or activities, and in fact, your sexual orientation. In fact, from India itself, 6.1 million people's data was released or leaked online. This is 61 lakh people data was compromised on the online platform. However, there is a sigh of relief that financial information and the passwords were not leaked. And this is something which has become a new normal now. The data which is available on the Facebook or any other social networking sites are used for the personal use or for the commercial use. However, the users or the data for which it is taken up is not misused in the public domain. The experts have argued that this was not an act of hacking. However, this was an act of scrapping. Scrapping simply means it was a tactic that lifts public information from the internet, and it may not always be illegal. We will see that in a short while. However, in this case, Facebook's term of services were violated. It simply means that one of the terms says that the information of the users cannot be shared with a third party. However, in this case, without the permission, the information was saved and they were shared with the third party altogether. The leaked data was posted on the dark web. This could go in the hands of cyber criminals who can target internet users world over. Hence, it is also a matter of concern. This even allowed the Telegram users to buy leaked data online. Now, this has become a new normal. Users are buying the data online. Dark web is the hidden collectives of internet sites only accessible by specialized web browser. Assume that you are using the internet. What you will do, you will open a web browser. In most of the case, if you are using a laptop or a tablet, you will open Google Chrome. When you open a web browser, you type something. You type the name of a website. However, when you are working on the dark web, you cannot access certain kind of websites. So the websites which are working on the dark web are not accessible with the normal browser. So if you want to access anything on the dark web, you will have to get a separate link which is not available on the normal browser. All right. It is used for keeping internet activity anonymous and private. So whatever you do on the dark web is anonymous and private. So third party cannot access that. They cannot look into what you are actually doing. So when this data or when the information of these millions of subscribers were published on the dark web, the third party cannot access that. So you and me cannot go on the Google and search for that information. The clause of anonymity and being private also remains helpful both in legal and illegal terms. Now understand this with a simple example. How dark web could be legal and helpful. You must have opened a bank account. Now these days what we do, we access our bank account through mobile phones and applications. Suppose that you want to get the account details of your saving account. In that case, you will have to download a specific application on your mobile phone and download the entire statement in the PDF format. However, this PDF format will only be accessible by you through a password. Nobody in the bank can access that information or read on your behalf. All these activity will not be available on Google. So if you go on the Google, type download my bank statement account, that will not be available. Such kind of activities help create a personalized link between the senders and the receivers. And somehow this becomes important also in order to keep the secrecy intact. However, when coming to the illegal aspect of the dark web, suppose that what if terrorist organization communicate with each other through the dark web? That becomes an illegal activity. Drug trafficking, arms trafficking, human trafficking can take place through dark web, and security agency cannot do a lot about them. They will just keep on running behind the anonymous people without actually getting the real culprit in their hands. Coming to a very important thing, why there is buying and selling of data online? Why people sell this data? Why they just not keep the data which is hacked with themselves? Assume a simple example, and this is very interesting. Suppose that there is a person who is a world renowned or universal hacker. Okay, let us say that his name is Thanos. Yes, Thanos from Avenger. The Thanos is the world's best hacker. Now, what he has done, he has downloaded or hacked about 100 accounts of Facebook, and he has created a database of that. He has the mobile numbers, he has the email IDs, photographs, and everything possible. But he is somewhere down the line ethical also. I know I'm going beyond the Avengers, so he's a kind of ethical person. He does not misuses their data. However, he tried to make money out of it. Now, how we can do that? He just simply make a call to a marketing company and tell them that, sir, I have 100 accounts, their information, and they can be very useful for you. The marketing companies make a payment to the Thanos, and Thanos becomes happy. Now, what marketing company will do, they will utilize those 100 people's data, call them, message them, popularize them, give them the spam emails, give them the messages just to promote their product. And this is something which is happening across the world. People are also utilizing this data for political mendacy or for political gains, to take the views of the people which are available online and to utilize that to popularize their views and ideologies. The possible or the potential threat which is associated with the issue is that the data could be used for phishing activities, sending spam messages, which we have already discussed, marketing calls, and even targeting advertising. Although this does not seem to be very unethical in terms, however, there is clear breach of privacy as far as data is concerned. And lastly, the phone numbers which are leaked online is open for identity verification. Take the case of India. In India, we have associated or linked our mobile phone numbers to number of schemes and activities. We have linked it with Aadhaar, we have linked this data with our PAN numbers, our account numbers, and whatnot. And the moment these kind of data is released or leaked in the public domain, we become vulnerable to cyber threats. Hence, the leaking of this data in the public domain is a matter of concern, not only for India but for world together. Moving ahead to the next article. This article is associated with the current status of Indian economy and its near future course. The article is titled as Where's the Economy Headed? From this article, the author wants to convey that what is the near future course of action as far as the Indian economy is concerned and what are the areas of concern. Why there is a concern? Well, we all know there is a medical emergency across India which has engulfed the economy altogether. Most of the state governments are thinking to go for yet another strong lockdowns. And the moment we say there is a lockdown, there is direct impact upon the economic activity in India. The concerns associated with the current state of economy are very clear. The GDP might increase in the first quarter compared to the previous year. However, this increase would be in the relative terms. It means that the economy might increase this year or maybe first quarter of this year, which start on the April 1st. However, this might look only in terms of relative terms. That is, there might be an increase in the percentage wise. So on April 1st, 2020, there might be an increase of 5%, and this year it might be 6% or 5.5%. Well, these are just hypothetical examples. This increase only shows us that the base effect, or because of the base effect, there is an increase. However, on absolute terms or on the real terms, it may not be as high as expected. So assume that last year India's GDP was 2.5 trillion and this turned out to be 2.45 trillion this year. On absolute terms, it might seem that it has reduced. However, on percentage term, there might be something else. Article also talks about that there are concerns related to the possible reverse migration of labor back to the poorer states. This is a matter of concern. Why? Because labor is the main factor of production in India. India is a labor intensive country. And the moment the labor goes back to their hometowns, they leave the industries idle, industries go shut down, the production process goes shut down, and the economy goes in the downward trend. Also, there are chances of rise in the inequalities level in India, as when there is a stagflation, saving of poor reduces faster than that of the rich. This is very simple to understand. Well, stagflation is the economic situation which means that there is a stagnation in the GDP growth. The GDP growth is not going higher, and there is inflation also. In that situation, the stagflation causes unemployment to the larger section of population which becomes poor, and once a person is poor, the saving of that person is remain on the downward side. On the other hand, the rich which have a higher per capita income is able to save more, so in the times of hardships or in the time of lockdown or shutdown, they can utilize their available savings for more. So, in the case of economic slowdown, the rich remains on the same position while the poor goes in the downward trend, and this actually increases the level of economic inequalities in India. A data compiled by Max Rosser of Our World in Data says that 99.5% of all Indians live on less than $30 a day. I want to give a disclaimer here. Whenever you read such kind of reports or data, just try to understand that all these data are published by developed nations and they do not undertake the conditions which are available in India. $30 a day, which simply turns out to be 66,000 per month. And 66,000 per month of salary or income in India is assumed to be very high. Any person in India who is earning that amount of money can easily survive and even go for higher middle class section. So, if the data is saying that 99.5% people are earning less than this, is not a shocking thing. However, we can quote such kind of data in your mains answer writing. As per the International Monetary Fund's World Economic Outlook, you can learn this for your prelim examination. UPSC asks the questions on the international reports. So as per this report, United States of America and European nations have supported livelihood of vulnerable far more than what India has done. Again, you can quote this report, however, there is a disclaimer. India's effort for controlling the pandemic or India's effort to reviving its economy is far different than those of US and European nations. Those nations have high per capita income and high GDPs. Their GDP goes in trillions and their population is very small. So the point is that they can spend far more money in order to revive their economy than what India can do. In Western nations, direct spending means directly spending or providing money in the hand of the people. Direct spending on middle class and poor class was higher. Simple, because they have more money. But in India, it was a case of reverse. Here or in India, middle class or the poor class suffered the most due to backwardness of the economy. This burden is coupled with higher inflation and poor purchasing power. One important point to be noted here: Indian economy is not highly formalized or organized. Once the economy is not highly formalized or organized, it tends to get higher inflationary pressure. Okay, suppose this: there are two countries, one is India, the other one is USA. Both of them are spending about $1 billion in order to revive something, in order to revive the purchasing power in the economy. So, India is a less organized country. So, infusion of $1 billion will not increase the output much. However, it will create the inflationary pressure. On the other hand, the US is a well organized economy. So, taxation, revenues, and other things go in hand. So, they can reduce the inflationary pressure and at the same time revive the economy in faster mode. Hence, the same kind of pill does not work on different sick nations. India's focus has largely been on revamping the private sector to boost the demand. Well, this point is very simple. As India is a demand driven country, India focused more on reviving the private sector and the demand in its economy. What government has done in the past 1 year, that they have provided the credit, the tax incentives or the tax soaps, they have provided the cheaper credit, interest rate subvention, and multiple schemes through which private sector can improve. Atmanirbhar Bharat is one of that scheme where they have targeted the private sector to improve further. Through these things or initiatives, they are targeting the demand and boost the demand in the economy. Once the demand goes up, the private sector or the public sector together will produce more, they will provide more into the economy, and they will call for more employment. However, firm invest more when there is high productive capacity. Now, this is a key word in the article. What is productive capacity? Well, it simply means the number of items a factory or an industry or a firm can produce with a given level of raw material. So if a factory can produce more with a given level of raw material, it means it has a higher productive capacity. And if you are the investor, you will definitely invest in a company which is more efficient in its productive capacity. However, in India, the productive capacity at present is lying idle. Idle means at present, India's productive capacity is not utilized to its 100%. It simply means if a factory can produce 100 units of a product, it is at present producing only 80 units. When it is not producing at its full capacity, it means it is not employing the labor to its full capacity. RBI has found that the consumer's confidence level is low again. Well, this is a matter of concern. Let us understand this in a simpler terms. Well, I try to give you examples after every problem or every article just to make things simpler for you so that you can understand in easiest possible manner, because guys, UPSC is itself is a huge task. So we have to understand things in a simpler manner. Well, coming to the example. Lower confidence of consumer simply means, suppose you are a person who want to buy a car and you have 10 lakh rupees in your account. However, seeing the situation of the economy, seeing the pandemic in the economy, seeing the problems in the economy, you find that you are not able to sustain more in the longer term. You see that you might have to utilize your savings for the contingency instruments or for the emergency in the future. Seeing this, you will defer your idea to buy a car. You will keep that 10 lakh rupees in your savings account. You will not buy the car. So once you defer that decision, the firm or the company will not produce a car. When they will not produce a car, they will not demand labor or raw material, and ultimately there is a level of unemployment in the economy. So countries like India or developing countries like India focus very high on generating the demand in the economy so that the production process can continue and there can be a sustained long-term growth. Well, this article actually deals with the international issue of refugees and illegal immigrants. The article talks about India's change of stance as far as refugees and illegal immigrants are concerned, according to the change in circumstances. The context of the article says that Supreme Court has recently refused to release 300 members of the Rohingya community who were detained as the illegal immigrants in the detention camps according to the procedure under the Foreigner Act 1946. As per Foreigner Act 1946, these 300 Rohingyas were declared as illegal immigrants who were staying in India, hence they were sent to the detention camps. Well, the decision of the Supreme Court goes in line with what the central government was advocating for the past few years. Central government was advocating that there are a number of people who are staying in India who can cause a threat to the national security as far as the security setup of India is concerned. Now, who is a refugee? Under 1951 UN Convention on the State of Refugees, a refugee is a person or any person who is outside their country of origin. Country of origin means where they were born or where their ancestors used to stay. So they are outside the country of origin and unable or unwilling to return owing to a well-founded fear of persecution for a reason of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. Well, as far as race is concerned, you can find the case of African nations. When religion is concerned, Rohingya is the best example. As far as nationality is concerned, you will find examples in the West Asia or the Middle East nation. On political ideology, you can find the recent example of military coup, where political opinion of democracy is subdued and people are getting persecuted. So in order to save their life, they are turning their migration towards nations like India. Stateless people, people who does not belong to a particular nation, may also be refugee in this sense. Now, who are Rohingyas? Well, Rohingyas are Muslim community from Myanmar, originally from Myanmar, who left the nation due to the military crackdown in 2017. Now, what happened in 2017? There was an ethnic clash which took place between the Buddhist majority and the minority of Rohingyas, in which military also took participate. They targeted the Rohingya individuals, even the families. They were killed, they were slaughtered openly, and because of this, in order to save their life, Rohingyas turned towards the migrating process and towards the neighboring countries. The best and the fastest possible route seemed to go Bangladesh and to India, and this is the result why Bangladesh, being the most eminent or most prominent neighbor of Myanmar, has received the highest number of Rohingyas in the past 3 years. Rohingyas form part of the world's largest refugee crisis. Yes, this crisis is even larger than that of the West Asia. Myanmar says that Rohingyas are illegal migrants from Bangladesh. Now, this is a counter view. Bangladesh says that the Rohingyas are originally from Myanmar and they are facing the persecution. On the other hand, Myanmar is saying that they are illegal migrants from Bangladesh who came before the formation of the nation itself. Bangladesh has provided compassionate shelter to over 1.1 million Rohingyas. Well, this is one of the best example of international ethics. You can quote this example in your mains ethics answer writing as well. Around 40,000 of the Rohingyas are living in India as well, and 14,000 of them have already got the refugee card, which are provided by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees program. So these 14,000 people in India have refugee cards, hence as of now they are not declared as illegal immigrants. Indian government has, however, called most of the Rohingyas to be illegal immigrants, as the government presumes that they are coming in India to create a threat to the national security. Including Rohingyas, India currently houses 3 lakh immigrants, which include some of the immigrants coming from Tibet as well. The other pointers which are mentioned in the article says that India is neither a signatory of UN Convention of 1951 nor it has any refugee policy or refugee law. Well, means simple that India can do anything it wishes, anything it wants as far as illegal immigrants or refugees are concerned. Well, this has allowed India to keep its options open on the question of refugees. So, India can take any decisions as far as refugee and illegal immigrants are concerned because they are not following any legal procedure to deal with them. Similarly, this kind of absentee behavior of India has allowed it to declare any refugee as illegal immigrant under Foreigner Act or under the Indian Passport Act. Well, it does not mean that India has not done anything. India has provided a kind of citizenship clause to the refugee under the recently amended Citizenship Act. However, there is a new surge of immigrants coming from Myanmar who are fear a threat of death from Myanmar military. As we have seen that there is a military coup in Myanmar and the people who are advocating the democracy are under the threat of persecution and they are leaving Myanmar to save their lives. And this has increased a surge of new migration wave in the northeastern state, including the Manipur and Mizoram. However, these people are the citizens of Myanmar and not the stateless people like Rohingyas. So in near future, if the situations in the Myanmar turn out to be well fine or turn out to be very good, these citizens can go back to their nation without any fear because they hold the citizenship. However, if the situation turn out to be very good and there is a revival of the democracy process, Rohingyas are very unlikely to visit back to their home state. Previously, the Supreme Court of India has ordered to deport Rohingyas back to Myanmar. However, this is not simple as multiple times the Myanmar, like many other nations, has denied to accept the refugees. As Myanmar has quoted that they will not accept Rohingyas because they consider Rohingyas to be illegal immigrants. So, they will not accept them from any other country including India or Bangladesh. By calling Rohingyas as illegal migrants or immigrants and not the refugees like Bangladesh. Well, Bangladesh call them refugee. We call them illegal immigrants. India is going against the principle of non-refoulement. Well, this was a keyword mentioned in the article. What is non-refoulement? It simply means it is a principle which supports the practice of not forcing refugees or asylum seekers to return to a country in which they are liable to be subjected to persecution. It simply means that a nation which follow the policy of non-refoulement, it will never force any refugee or asylum seeker to go back to a country where they fear the threat of death. So, if India is calling Rohingyas illegal immigrants and trying to force them to send back or to force them to go back to this place of their origin, India is not following the principle of non-refoulement. However, this does not say that India has never done anything good. India is bound to follow this principle as India is signatory to many other international treaties other than the 1951 convention such as the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Under this covenant, India has been following the policy of non-refoulement and India always supports the civil and political rights of the people who are coming from across the border. You will never find that Indians are or Indian army or Indian police killing or persecuting the refugees or the illegal migrants. The best India can do is to keep them in the detention camps, and even in those camps, basic human rights are respected. However, India has asked the United Nations to re-look at this principle of non-refoulement. India in the past has followed many times a principle of non-refoulement, as it was seen while dealing the case of Sri Lankan refugees who are staying in Tamil Nadu. These refugees enjoy basic human rights, they have educational accessibility, and even they have the accessibility to basic and standard of living. In last, the Myanmar is not ready to take back the Rohingyas. If they don't do that, India cannot force them, and if India forces them, there could be very high and negative and dangerous consequences. Moving ahead to the next article. This article actually talks about a basic economic concept of foreign exchange rate and its shift. The title of the article says the rupee has hit 9 months low. Low means higher the value. So when there is a depreciation, the numerical value of a currency increases. So the low here means that there is depreciation. Why it is falling? The article says that why there is a fall in the exchange rate and what to expect in the near future. So what we can expect from the currency rate in the near future. This article was published on 15th of April. Going by the context, it says the rupee has hit a 9-month low of 75.4. Well, the people who are watching this video for the first time and who think that economic concepts are not clear to them, let me make it simple for you on the blackboard. Well, 75.4, what does that mean? It simply means that if you have $1 with you and you go to the market, not the simple market to buy the vegetables, you go to the foreign exchange market. When you go into that market with $1 and you go to the seller and says that, sir, I want to sell this $1. What he will do, he will give you 75 rupees and 40 paisa. Now you may find it hilarious. However, this 40 paisa makes a difference. Assume this. If you are having $1, this 40 paisa may not be a much of a difference to you. What if you are holding $1 million? In that case, that 40 paisa turn out to be around 4 lakh rupees. This makes a difference. Well, it simply means that if on the previous day you were having 75.30 as an exchange rate of rupee, today you are having 75.4, you are actually making a gain of 1 lakh rupee in one day. Well, this is a basic mathematics. You need not to go into that, but we will see how it is determined. Okay, try to understand this example. On the y-axis, you have ER, that is the exchange rate. On the x-axis, you have the dollar or the amount of dollar which is available in the country. Take the example of India. In India, at present, the amount of dollar is S1, let's say $1 million. All right. So this is the amount of dollar available in India. And at this point, the exchange rate is R1 or 75.4. All right. Now, if there is an increase in the supply, let's say to this point, if the increase in the supply of the dollar is at this point, it simply means that R1 will become R2. All right. It means the exchange rate will further go ahead or 76 point, let's say 5. All right. If the exchange rate goes at this point, the demand of the dollar increase, it will go at R3 or maybe 72 point something. It simply means that the demand and supply of a particular currency also determine its rate. Now, what I have done is I have taken the example of dollar with the value of rupee. You can keep rupee over here and you can keep the same values. So, supply and demand together determines the value of a currency. Now, the article says that there is a low of rupee in the 9-month period. It simply means that the supply of rupee is increasing. As we have seen in this case, when the supply of the currency increases, its value goes on depreciating or the exchange rate keep on going down. So the supply of the currency has increased. As a result, there is the lower exchange rate. Now the article talks about the reason why there is a fall in the currency rate or why there is a depreciation. Well, there is a medical emergency in the country. We all know that. It has caused the falling of demand of goods and services. As people are reluctant to go out in the market to buy products, the confidence level of the consumer is low, confidence level of the investor is low, hence the valuation of the currency is also low. When the demand is passive in the economy, there is very high chance that the rupee will depreciate. Another reason quoted in the article says that RBI has announced about infusing the 1 lakh crore rupee of liquidity. Liquidity simply means cash. So RBI will try to put an extra 1 lakh crore rupee of the liquidity through GSAP instrument. Well, this instrument has already been discussed in the previous article of DNS discussion. So you can go through the DNS discussion and you can read more on GSAP. Well, RBI move will simply increase the supply of the economy. Take this example again. What RBI has done, RBI has put 1 lakh crore of currency or of the rupee in the economy. This will definitely increase the supply. As the supply would increase, what will happen? Simply the exchange rate would depreciate. Now the question arises that why RBI is doing that? Why RBI, knowing the fact that increasing the rupee in the economy will reduce the currency rate or the exchange rate, why RBI is doing that? Why RBI is not concerned about the exchange rate? Well, RBI is very well concerned about the exchange rate more than you and me. However, as of now, the target of the RBI is not to stabilize the exchange rate, but to bring the economy back on the track. So the amount of money which RBI is infusing in the economy will definitely push up the demand. And we have already talked about the demand and its repercussions in the economy well in detail. What are the concerns which are associated with such a depreciation in the currency? Well, there is a delay in the economic recovery, we all know that, and the depreciation of the rupee might hurt the imports of essentials like oil. So, as the currency will depreciate further, the oil which we are importing, because once the currency get depreciated, imports becomes expensive. And more the expensive they are, the more is likely to get the deficit on the current account. So oil will become expensive, and the higher the oil prices would mean higher inflation in the economy, because entire transportation chain in the country is based on the oil prices. Once the oil prices goes high, there is high inflation. So you can create a simple link. When there is depreciation of the currency, there is inflation. So if UPSC asks in the prelims what is the relation between the currency depreciation and the inflation, you can find out that. This would also concern the individuals who have planned their imports of goods and services. Suppose you are a millionaire and you want to buy a car from outside. Let's say anything. Let's say you want to buy a Maserati or a Ferrari from European nations. In that case, what you will do? You will defer your import of goods and services. And lastly, this would benefit the exporters who will get benefit of export earning. So depreciation is not all that bad. Depreciation increase the import price, but it will also help you to earn more on the exports. Well, let us understand this with simple example. Assume that you were exporting 100 units of textile and each unit was costing 100 rupees, and the entire bill of your export was 10,000 rupees. Now the currency has depreciated, so you will be exporting same 100 units, but the price which you will getting is 110. Automatically you will be earning more when the currency depreciate. Hence currency depreciation actually benefit the exporters to a larger extent. And through this conclusion, we come to the end of today's discussion. Thank you very much for paying attention to this discussion and participating in this. We'll see you in the next discussion as soon as possible. Take care and keep working hard. Bye for now.